Thanks so much. Special thanks to the Ad Club, to Kathy Kiley for having us here, and for having me here. And I'm joined by a number of colleagues here that may be familiar to you. We've got Brendan Ripp, we got John Campbell, and we now have Eric Nelson on board at National Geographic Partners, underscoring our commitment to developing engaging partnerships here in the Boston market. And of course, Tammy is with them as well. So, I'm just going to start with a little clip to share a little bit of our brand
narrative. This is not a border or a frame. It does not bind us or limit us. It is a portal, an entrance to the whole world. Every place, story, and passion lies right through there. This is where explorers and innovators go. This is the threshold of the next chapter of humanity. Join us. And together we will do more than see the world. We'll change it.
Okay, follow Morgan Freeman. That's not a hard one to do. So that's just a little bit of the story of a brand narrative and a brand journey that we're on. I'm Declan Moore, as mentioned. I'm the CEO at National Geographic Partners. We're a joint venture between the National Geographic Society, which was founded back in 1888, so almost celebrating its 130th anniversary, and with 21st Century Fox. So while we bring the legacy, tradition, heritage of National Geographic, we combine that with a 2-year-old, essentially, startup, will be 2 years in September, that is scaling up our media properties across the world. But starting back at the Society, we see ourselves as the home of exploration, and our headquarters in Washington is really our base camp. Started out back in 1888 with Alexander Graham Bell, who of course we know as having invented the telephone as well, although the Italians do dispute that. The magazine started out as a journal, and it had a mandate to cover the world and all that is in it. How about that for a very focused mission statement? And so they set about their task, and at one point they came to an issue of the magazine that they didn't actually have. They had 12 pages of content that fell out, and the editor at the time decided that they would run photographs that they had just received in from China. And 2 board members resigned at this audacity. But it was an early example of being innovative and embracing the visual medium, which became so important to us to tell our stories throughout the last 130 years. And we were innovative in that we got into television. When we saw color television come along and this was a new engaging medium for consumers to interact with content, we were there with the creation of National Geographic Television, and of course had many documentaries and specials, and then embraced the actual launch of the National Geographic Channel itself back in 2001. We launched onto the web in 1995. We launched into social media that I'll talk about in a little moment, as early as 2004 in those early days. And we've been consistently driven by having the superlative visuals that actually reach out and engage. And they're captured by the best people in their field. These are not just people who are, printing second-best photos. They're driven by a passion to capture the best of a place, tell that story, and that we can bring it to millions of consumers around the world. And we have been embracing our brand narrative and applying those principles to additional platforms. So within the television space, we've been on this journey over the last 2 years to really invest in creating what is the world's leading premium science, adventure, and exploration content, and driving the entire organization further in pursuit of that aim. We have embraced what was the first VR with Facebook 360. We were able to create the White House's first VR with an exclusive interview with President Obama. And we have been embracing and looking at engagement through scripted series, which we had not done previously in our brand. And I'm tremendously proud of the accomplishments of the team, whereby Genius, our first series, which has been our most watched series, garnered so many Emmy nominations, and we're all very proud of that. So within social media itself, to drive engagement in the space, we have the #1 brand on many of these platforms. And I say to myself sometimes, well, why? Well, it's because they're executing to what the principles of the brand stand for. So we know that many people read the magazine, but there are probably some of you out there who have looked at the magazine and seen the photos and read the captions. And so when we interpret that brand for Instagram, what we are delivering is almost the perfect expression of the brand on the platform to drive engagement, because it is the photos and it is the captions delivered moment by moment, not just month by month. And that has propelled the brand to the #1 place on the platform. And we learned to engage. Many of us in publishing thought at the beginning, this is great. We have new ways in which we can distribute our content. Create once, publish many places. Well, not so fast. Because if you want to engage the consumers, you have to interpret it for the consumer on that platform, for where they are in their mind, more so than physically where they are. Is this content that's going to be short enough to share? Is this content that I'm going to actually say, I'm going to invest my time to dive into this particular article, to watch this particular feature, because it is really good and it really appeals to me. I mentioned before the pride in the television team with the Emmy nominations. They were for Genius, also for our documentary LA 92, and also for our Life Below Zero. And I'm hopeful, as we just had our premiere of our Jane documentary, which is a fantastic documentary on the life of Jane Goodall by Brett Morgan, that will get a theatrical release starting on October the 20th, that we could maybe, with a bit of luck, get some Oscar nominations in there for the documentary too. So at National Geographic, we have this kind of unique business model. We have this one brand, but we have this society, and we have the partners. And so we have the one brand, we have the one purpose, and we just have slightly different emphases. So within partners, we're the global media reach. 438 million distribution on the channel throughout the world. The large social media footprint, magazine publications in 43 languages, growing travel licensing businesses all around the globe. And the society is investing in science and exploration and conservation and education through its share in the joint venture. 27% of our proceeds are going back into those pursuits. And what that does, it's like adventure seed capital for us, to find the next generation of Jane Goodalls, to find the Erica Bergmans, to find the David Grubers, who we're working with in this space, to find the Bertie Gregorys, who can become that next generation of storytellers, so that we can continue to invest in them in the future. So we see ourselves very much as a brand with a purpose, and we know in the research this has a lot of appeal for millennials in particular. You know, there are B corporations out there. There's the Warby Parkers, great companies and brands I admire. You've got Tom's, you've got Patagonia, you've got Ben & Jerry's, who I believe are not too far from where we are now. And these companies with a purpose are giving back and investing in CSR initiatives, and we're doing that too. And we're looking then to create purpose-driven partnerships, because that's what delivers the most engagement. And we do it through 3 lenses that we have, that we look at as our changing planet, we have our wildlife and wild places, and then we have our human journey. And so one that I'll share with you just now, I'm actually going to share 3, but the first one that I will share with you is a purpose-driven partnership that we did with Microsoft last year. And so this was really part of their Make What's Next campaign, trying to develop more meaningful messaging so that we could encourage girls, more girls, to pursue STEM in studies and in careers. So we aligned to a global moment, which was International Women's Day, and I think there are other brands here who have also done similar. And we tapped into a number of our world-renowned explorers, including Tierney Thies and Erica Bergman, and we developed a whole campaign around with a mixture of Facebook Live, in-person events, really inspirational content, and had activations that were actually in Microsoft stores, that people could come in and spend time and see and be inspired by these people talking about their work. In total, generated over 1,000 pieces of content on Instagram with the hashtag #MakeWhat'sNext. Whoops, sorry, I don't want to go that fast. And by posting from the various different 5 photographers, we were able to generate that level of engagement and move the dial that was empowering girls to change the world, to stay in STEM, and be the ones who could hashtag #MakeWhat'sNext. So we feel, you know, in this regard, there was a tremendous amount of authenticity, and that's an important word for us, and it's an important word when you want to create those engaging partnerships. It's not about just logo slapping. It has to be authentic, and I view authenticity for us is very much about putting our brand values into practice. And if we are telling a story and we're going to align our brand, it's for real purpose. On the back of Genius, which we shared earlier, the first scripted series, so we had a program which we created called Chasing Genius. So, you know, throughout our history at National Geographic, we've believed in this transformational change and transformational ideas that can come from anywhere. Sometimes they come from folks who are very well known, like Albert Einstein, and sometimes it can come from those people who are the unknown folks who are applying their own brand of genius to solving problems that are big and small. So we created Chasing Genius as a new digital community to inspire and ignite and enable the genius inside each of us. So we asked the community to explore their own curiosities, share their own stories, and submit them to us via a short-form video. So we actually, I'll just move along here, we created our own Chasing Genius Council. I'll share this now.
The planet will be healthier, our waters will be cleaner. There's so much more to do.
So we created our own Chasing Genius Council, which included our own editor-in-chief and explorers and experts that we have back at National Geographic. And they evaluated each idea on the basis of innovation, creativity, viability, and inspiration. So 3 winners were chosen, 1 in each of those categories, and each winner received a prize of $25,000. So we had almost 3,000 videos that were actually submitted, which is a huge number, because this is not just a question of taking something and sharing something. Someone has to give thought. They have to put a narrative and a story arc together. So it's a deep level of engagement that took place on behalf of the participants. And then out of it, we get ideas, great ideas, in terms of making shoes and clothes from algae, creating portable vision correction kits to provide glasses to people in developing countries, and a solar-powered device that helps women in sub-Saharan Africa more easily prepare meals. So, why was that successful? Well, we were creating engaging articles and content, including the gallery that featured sparks of genius that actually turned out to be with the highest page view that we had. And then we engaged with online influencers. So we reached out. We had folks like Jay Shetty get involved and support and tap into their community of millions of followers. We targeted universities. We targeted research institutions. I know we have, of course, MIT support in a big way in this particular town. And we had these social engagement groups that we also developed relationships with, including the Bright Young Things group, Comic-Con, our own National Geographic live audiences, and nerd nights around the country. So overall, in total, we reached the 231 million with the campaign. We had the 3,000 participants, and that's becoming additional media for us to seed and share. So another example that I'd like to share with you is with a partnership that was an engaging partnership with Nike, which was, sorry, these are the winners from Chasing Genius. It was an engaging partnership with Nike, which is called Breaking 2.
When you look across sport, the one obvious barrier is the 2-hour marathon.
It's not the absolute numbers that matter. It's picking the goal that you think is impossible. It's this journey of taking 3 guys, all of whom are really talented, and telling them to do something that's impossible. We're taking the latest advances in training, latest advances in technology and algorithms and mathematics, and we're going to tell these guys, you're going to go for it from the gun. And that is a recipe for greatness.
It's about human endeavour. Why would you try to climb Everest? Why would you try to go to the moon? It's about learning what our capabilities are.
So it's really the story of 2 brands coming together and telling the story of human potential through the journey of Breaking 2, that attempt to break the 2-hour barrier, or the 2-hour mark for the marathon. And they came up only 24 seconds short after all that work and preparation. But what we were doing was we created a documentary, long form, that we have aired across our networks, commercial free, that is a high quality, engaging documentary on the quest and the challenge and the preparation and the attempt itself. We've also pushed it out across our social media platforms. Nike too, Breaking 2, Nike as well, have also been seeding and pushing this across their own social platforms. So the engagement is really high. And in fact, we're even leaning into our sister network in terms of Fox Sports where we will be airing Nike Breaking 2 on Fox Sports 2. So we've embraced, you know, the full kind of spectrum, the 360 spectrum of what we can actually offer to deliver this. And then an engagement with important constituents for them is the athletes themselves. So in London at the World Athletic Championships, we hosted a special red carpet. Usually we do yellow carpets for National Geographic brand, but we had a special red carpet premiere at the event in London where we had the world's top athletes and delivered huge engagement. And it's broadcast on the channel now in 33 languages all around the world. So in terms of successful partnerships, you know, I tend to look at it from a number of ways. That's just an example on some of the engagement already. It's more than the 2 million views. And to make partnerships successful, there's a number of components that you need to bring to them, okay? One is authenticity. I talked about that earlier. It has to be genuine. It can't just be a logo slap. True transparency. You've got to be really candid with each other. You know, we want to create this level of engagement. You know, there's objectives on the client side, there's objectives on the agency side, there's objectives on the media owner side. So let's be very clear about what it is each of us are looking to accomplish. Let's have regular dialogue and communication. You know, sometimes along the way there can be something inadvertent happens over here or someone doesn't understand something over there. You've got to keep the communication flow going all the time. Stewardship, we need people to own these and make sure, and we're committed to this in our organization, that we work on we bring in energy so that we work on over-delivery on the campaign. We want to be able to say on each of the commercial partnerships that we create that we were able to over-deliver. It's not just getting to the bar, it's getting way beyond the bar. And why? Because it's an authentic partnership, because it is accomplishing our goals as much as it is accomplishing what who our partners' goals are as well. So for consumers who are seeking purpose, there really is, to my mind, no other media brand that is out there on the landscape that is pushing the boundaries and helping them to explore than us. We say that we believe in the power of storytelling to change the world. And I think, you know, I often think about the fact that we don't live in a perfect world. And we may never live in a perfect world, but we know that we can live in a better world. And, you know, that's a driving force. A better world is the kind of prize worth fighting for. That's the driving force that our explorers and our photographers and our filmmakers and our storytellers do in the work that they do every single day. And that's the same kind of flywheel of momentum and drive that all of us in the commercial teams bring to the work that we do so that we can have a better outcome and success for us all. So I would just like to say once again, thank you to the Ad Club and to Kathy for having us here. I look forward to meeting with some of you later on, and thank you very much for your time.